Hey, Tom here. I am in Eastbourne today for the Eastbourne 10K. I've never done it before. It's going to be quite a nice day. It's a little bit breezy, but it's very sunny, so it could be a tough one. I'm not feeling that fit at the moment, so I thought I'd stick in a 10K just to see where I'm at after doing Worthing a few weeks ago. But I am going to be testing out the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3s, which I liked the previous two versions of the Elites. They're not cushioned enough for me for longer distances. I tended to use them for 5-10k distance, but never use them for anything too long. But these feel a bit different. These feel a bit bouncier, a bit more cushioned, a bit softer, so I think they may work for me. So I'm going to give it a go on this race and report back in a bit. Right, see you shortly.
Okay, so I've just got back from the Eastbourne 10K. It's not a race that I've done before. I have raced a few times in Eastbourne. Various events happen throughout the year. Some of them smaller ones on the coast, some of them bigger ones like the Eastbourne Half Marathon, which I did earlier in the year and is a really, really hard half marathon. So I wasn't too sure what to expect from the Eastbourne 10K. It's a really nice race. It starts off pretty close to the train station. It's very flat apart from one bit at about 3k where you have a really quick hill and then you're back down again, so it's a pretty fast race. It does take place all on the paths on the coast, so you don't actually run on roads. It's not cordoned off or anything, so there are pedestrians running on the route, which can be a bit tricky. There were dogs and things on the route, so you had to be a little bit careful. There was one point where I had to slow down because there was a dog running towards me, so it's worth taking that into consideration if you're planning on getting a PB, because you do have to be aware of all the people that are running around. The course is pretty simple. You basically run down the coastal path, up and around and back down the coastal path for another 5k and then back around again. So it's a pretty simple route. It's quite a nice route, so you're looking at the sea most of the time. They're quite nice paths. They're fairly wide for paths that you can run on, but as I said, there's still a lot of people on there, and sometimes there were bikes and things on there as well, because it's not really marshalled in the same way that a cordoned off event would be. So it's definitely an event that you need to pay attention to if you're planning on running really, really fast, because there are things that might be moving in and out, so it's worth paying attention things around you. The course, as I said, is pretty flat, so it's a pretty good PB course. Today's event was really quite good conditions. It's starting to get a bit warm, but there was a nice breeze as well, so I didn't really have any major issues with the weather at all. If I was fit enough, I probably would have got a pretty good time in the event today. Marshalling was fantastic. Everyone was really nice. The setup at the start of the race was really quick and efficient, and the finish was great as well. So all in all, really pleased with the event. I have not really been training that hard since my training block before Boston Marathon, and the last race I did was Worthing 10k, which I got, I think, about 39:15 in. I got 39:30 something today. I can't remember the exact amount, but so I'm definitely not in race condition at the moment. I'm going to have another month or so until I start picking up the training for Valencia in December. So at the moment, I'm just trying to just keep it going a bit, keep the runs going, but I'm generally focused a little bit more on those easy, comfortable runs as opposed to really pushing myself hard at the moment, because I'm moving house as well, so I haven't got a lot of time to train loads. But I'm hoping to pick that pace up a little bit over the next few weeks as I start to introduce a few more interval sessions. But overall, really good event, well worth looking at if you want a fast, comfortable, enjoyable 10k to do on the coast. There's water stops halfway, and you get a nice medal at the end. So well worth having a look at. Very much enjoyed it. Okay, so the shoe that I wore is a really interesting one, because it's the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3. Now, I have used the previous two versions of the Nitro Elite, and I liked them, but they weren't quite a shoe for me. What I found about those shoes is that They were quite firm. The level of cushioning that you got in those shoes was quite minimal in the world of carbon plate shoes at the moment. So if you compared the previous two versions of this shoe to something like the Alpha Fly or the Vaporfly, it was a very different shoe. You didn't get the same sort of bounce back, same sort of cushioning. And as a result, I tended to use those more for like a park run or maybe a 10K, but it was definitely not on my list for shoes that I would want to use for big race attempts. I would never use them for a marathon because there's just not enough cushioning in those shoes for me. But absolutely fine for like shorter, faster efforts. I actually tended to use them a lot for track because they were just very quick and poppy, but not very good for longer distance for me because I like cushioning. This version of the shoe, big changes, big changes, and as a result, really liking this. So as I mentioned in that early bit, I'm not match fit at the moment when it comes to running, so I wasn't expecting to get a PB or anything today. But what I found about the shoe is that midsole foam in it, the redesigned midsole foam, is a big difference from the earlier two iterations of this shoe. It feels softer, it feels bouncier, it feels softer in both the heel section and the forefoot. You can really notice it. And as a result, it's really starting to feel like a shoe that you would compare with things like the Vaporfly, the Alpha Fly, the Saucony Endorphin Pro 3, those sorts of shoes, which is great because I think Puma's been missing that for a long time. They've had quite a lot of carbon plate shoes that have come out, but they've really not been competitive when it comes to those same sorts of experiences that you get from things like the Alpha Fly and Vaporfly. This is up there now, and I think it's definitely a shoe that I would look at as an option for running half marathons in as well. Over the course of that 10K, I could really feel that cushioning in the midsole. I could really feel the bounce. Just walking around in it before the race, I could really feel the difference in this shoe. And I think if I was at tip-top fitness like I was last year, I think this would be I've got a good time in this shoe. I think I would have really enjoyed racing and pushing myself in the 10K today. So it's a fantastic improvement so far based off of that first run that I've done, or that first race, and I'm really enjoying it. So I'm looking forward to using this for a lot more races. And I think Puma has finally got a super shoe that is up there with the best of the best now. Although I will wait till the full review to give my thoughts based on a few more runs in this, but overall really impressed with it. One thing I would say is if you're a fan of the channel, you will know that I have a problem with outsoles on shoes. I tend to rip off this section at the bottom of the shoe, which is the outer section of the midsole around the heel. Starting to come off a tiny bit there, so getting a little bit worried about that. When I ran in the Vaporfly 3s, when I ran in the Hoka Rocket X2, I completely ripped this section off. So this does seem a bit sturdier. It's Puma grip, it's a bit thicker than what you get on those other shoes, but tiny bit coming off, which is concerning me a little bit. So I'll keep an eye on that. Hopefully it'll still be on by the time we do the full review. But great work Puma on this. Very much enjoyed it in that race today. Definitely a shoe that's going to sit in my top tier pile now when it comes to super shoes for race day, and that's a lot of distances for race day. So yeah, more of that to come. That's it from me on this Eastbourne 10K race test, testing out the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 3. Also, thank you to all the guys that came up to me during or before or after the race. I've forgotten your names, but there were loads of you that came over to say hello and talk about your shoes and talk about these shoes. Really nice talking to you all, and hope you had a great day. So that's it from me. Catch you next time.